In this video, I'll be doing a deep dive into my Guardians roster and explaining what I think is the most optimal roster choices you can make for Guardians post-Cosmic Ghost Rider release. Jumping right into it, first we have the Crises. For Security's Crises, I have picked Demons Downtown, Intrusions, and Infinity Formula. And for Extracts, I have picked Alien Ship, Legacy Virus, and Researcher. If you want a more detailed explanation on why I chose these crises over other ones, I suggest you go watch my crisis overview videos for Guardians. The links are in the description. For characters, I have Star-Lord, obviously. He is our leader, kind of essential to the roster. After that, I have Rocket and Groot. Rocket and Groot are core parts of Guardians of the Galaxy. They synergize so well with our gunline team, and they allow us to have a really cheap affiliated core of Star-Lord, Rocket, and Groot for only 8 threat total. They're not an every game piece like some people think they are, but they are definitely essential to our roster. After them, I have Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill is one of the best 4 threats in the entire game. He's purely just a value piece. He has reliable control with his throw. He's extremely tanky, and when needed, he can also push through pretty solid damage. Bill being affiliated just makes him a must for the roster. He's just a really, really solid character. After him, we have Agent Venom. Agent Venom's an incredibly solid tech piece. Between his place, his throw, his beam, and his ability to ignore defensive dice modification, he can really do it all. He definitely has counters, mainly being the long-range energy attacks, and he's incredibly squishy. But I find he's essential for the roster for specific bad matchups like X-Men and Web Warriors, where he excels because of his ability to chase and ignore cover. After him, we have Nebula. Nebula is just great because she's a second affiliated 2 threat that can push through damage really well and is great at chasing characters around. She's also very independent, which is nice, being that she doesn't really need or want a winging it token to push through her damage. I feel like the roster is just best with a second 2 threat to make certain threat values work, and Nebula is just the best pick for that being affiliated. And end off our affiliated characters, we have Cosmic Ghost Rider. Cosmic Ghost Rider is just an absolute monster in Guardians. Being able to threaten so much of the board as long as he can keep his power going is just really nice. He has an insane control and can output a crazy amount of damage with the winging tokens. Though he is a very dicey model and he's not great on pay to flip secures, he's still incredibly strong, and just the amount of the board he threatens makes him super, super good under Guardians. He's a very strong choice for the roster. For unaffiliated models, I have Hulk. Even with CGR, I still think Hulk is a really good option to have in the roster for crises where CGR isn't strong, like Beta Flips. Hulk is still really strong a Guard of the Galaxy, and playing him instead of CGR sometimes can be a great gotcha moment for your opponent. Sometimes on 20 threats, I'll even bring both CGR and Hulk if the crisis fits for it, and that's a really scary team to play against. Overall, it's not a necessary pick if you run Cosmic Ghost Rider, but I personally think it's still a good backup plan to have when you can't run. After him, I have Pyro. Pyro is probably the best 3 threat in the entire game. Firewall is just such a good ability, and he can output so much damage and gives us access to really good tactic cards, which we'll get to in a second. He's just a pure value model, and I think he's just the best 3 threat splash for us currently. And then finally, we have Original Ghost Rider. Although this is the only character in my roster that I'm currently kind of on the fence about, I still think he has a really good home in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's still fantastic with winging a token and can get around the board so fast, and his synergy with Deadly Duo and our team is just great. I think this roster just needs a 5 threat, and OG Ghost Rider is just still the best fit for that spot. And now to quickly go through tactic cards, we got Crew of the Milano and Galaxy Greatest, because they're both just crazy good value cards, and they're both really good with CGR. And then we have Deadly Duo, because it's just an amazing card. Rocket gets 3 free attacks for 2 power off him and Groot. It's just great. Deal with the Devil, which is just staple to OG Ghost Rider. It works really well with him, and we run both Rocket and Nebula, so then he has 2 threats he can use it on. Super great there. We Are Groot, just for another pure value card. It's really good on tight scenarios to get a bunch of free heals off. Pyrotechnics, this card is just bonkers good and can easily swing games with Pyro, going last, and then he's making a bunch of guys drop extraction, push off Shakurs. It can just take so many points. It's just one of the best cards in the entire game, really. For my restricted cards, I have Brace and Sacrifice. Both are just really good value cards. I can see Sacrifice being patch up if that's more your thing. And then we have Eyes on the Prize. Bill can use this for a safe midline grab round 1, which can be very nice against teams who also threaten the midline. And then finally, Kick him while you're down, which is amazing with Pyro. For each condition an enemy character has, we get a reroll on attacks. We have a lot of guys that can give out conditions besides Pyro too, and this card is just very strong in our team. And before we end off this video, I'd also like to go over some things that weren't in my list and why I chose not to use them. First being Winter Soldier. I see this very often as a 3 threat splash, but it's not quite as good as some people think. At first glance, Winter Soldier seems to synergize really well with Guardians of the Galaxy, being a long range gunner. But that's actually the reason he's not a good splash pick. It just doesn't bring anything new to the table. His whole kit doesn't provide anything in the roster we don't already have, and I think he should just be someone that brings something we don't have to the roster instead of just stacking onto what we already have. I also don't have Jackson Gamora on the list. I mainly just don't have them on the list because I just felt their spots were better being used by Splash characters. I don't think they're bad picks by any means. I just think the Splashes I chose are going to be doing more for me than they would. And with that being said, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.